Well, for more analysis, we can speak now to Theo Zanu, a historian and journalist specializing in Catholicism. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Just first, your reaction to the choice of Cardinal Prevost. Was it a surprise for you?
Oh, definitely a surprise. Although he featured on some papabile lists, he certainly wasn't one of the top names. All the more surprising since the conclave was very short. He was elected on day 2 and he was elected on the 4th ballot. And usually when someone is elected that early, it's a front runner. So again, the conclave surprises. What I think we can take away from his surprising and fast election is the following. He was probably one of the favorites going into the conclave. He might not be a favorite in the media, but he was a favorite amongst his brother cardinals. He's someone that was able to be very consensual and get everybody to back him quickly. So a figure of unity.
And he's said to be quite close to Francis in terms of his core beliefs, but what are some of the ways maybe in which they're different?
I think the most important way is temperament and style. And you saw that right away when he stepped onto that balcony. As you saw, he was wearing the ermine with a golden embroidery, which is something more traditional than what Francis did and what Francis used Catholics to. He's also somebody who's very measured, very calm. He's not going to speak off the cuff. He's more reflected, more considered. Francis was a very colorful figure, and Pope Leo XIV is going to have a very different style.
And if he's someone who's very measured, we heard our correspondent saying, maybe there are some ways in which Pope Leo is at odds with the current U.S. administration. Do you expect that we'll hear him speaking out, kind of seeking any conflict with them, maybe even in a subtle way?
He's not going to seek conflict, but he's going to defend his church and defend his position and defend Catholic values. So if and when criticism of the Trump administration is due, he will make those criticisms. But in his opening speech, if you will, he mentioned building bridges and he mentioned dialogue. So I think we can expect him to, yes, criticize, but also try to understand, to find commonalities, and to move past polarization. And that's a very important, I think, message he sent. He's not going to be a pope of the culture wars, if you will, or a pope of conflict. He's going to be a pope of unity.
Pope Leo also takes the lead at a time of polarization within the church. Can you maybe walk us through what some of the thorniest issues are that he's going to be facing?
Really, the church since the 1960s and the liberal reforms of Vatican II has been divided into two camps. In a sense, like politics. You've got hardcore conservatives who want to hold true to tradition and want a church that mainly focuses on itself, and you have progressives like Pope Francis was. We want a church that engages with the world, that reforms the liturgy, and that is more open and inclusive. And I believe Leo, although he probably falls more on the progressive side, is actually going to be quite a centrist pope, somebody who is going to try and reconcile, if you will, the two wings of the church. And the name that he picked, Leo XIV, is important here because the name a pope picks says something about who they want to be. And if we look at the last Leo, who was pope at the end of the 19th century, there are two things that stand out. The first, this is a very traditional pope, long before the Vatican II reform. This is a pope who made the rosary very popular again. This is a pope known for his devotion to Mary, and that's something that conservatives will appreciate. But Pope XIII was also a pope that had a social conscience and that believed in regulating the free market and believed in checking extreme wealth and believed in helping the poor and supporting workers and labor unions. So that will be something progressive will like. So already, I think Leo XIV, although he's very quiet and measured, is showing himself to be a very savvy operator.
And there is a lot of enthusiasm right now. The scenes at St. Peter's Square almost felt like a sporting event yesterday. Is that kind of a media frenzy around the election of a pope sort of a more recent phenomenon? And do you think that that enthusiasm is going to last?
I wouldn't say it's a recent phenomenon. Probably in the Middle Ages, it was even crazier when a new pope was elected, the kind of popular devotion, popular faith that people used to have. Will it last? That's really up to Pope Leo XIV. He's only 69. He's probably going to be in there, so to say, for 15 to 20 years. So I believe he will take his time and bid his time. So at first, probably shouldn't expect too much from him. And the faithful understand that and will come to respect that. There might not be as much excitement about him down the line as there was for someone like Francis, but that doesn't mean there won't be an equal amount of devotion from hardcore Catholics.
Well, it will be interesting to see what he does. Theo Xenu, thank you again so much for speaking with us today on France 24. That was Theo Xenu, a historian and journalist specializing in Catholicism.